A Kremlin propagandist compared the war against Ukraine to the Great Patriotic War and concluded that Russian dictator Vladimir Putin inherited a bad nation. The propagandist reminded that the aggression against Ukraine will, in the coming weeks, outlast the Great Patriotic War. The Red Army of that time had already reached Berlin, while Putin's forces are stagnating. Solovyov blamed the failure of the so-called SVO on the Russian people, who are unwilling to die for the ruins of villages in a neighboring country. Why haven't we achieved results? Because not the whole country is fighting. The Supreme Commander is fighting, the government is fighting, the presidential administration is fighting, the governors are fighting. And then further down, what are you doing? Ruining people's spirits? It's New Year's. Our troubles aren't at the front, they're in the rear, the propagandist said. He called for the revival of the repressive group SMERSH and the execution of those who do not want to fight for the Kremlin's imperial ambitions. SMERSH is needed. It's not their conscience that needs appealing. Nothing convinces people more than the distinctive sound of a bolt being pulled, Solovyov stated. The Kremlin, through Solovyov, is trying to create an image of a guilty people, while the real decisions and mistakes of Putin and his vertical of power are completely ignored. Besides, an awkward moment occurred on the Russian propaganda program Evening with Vladimir Solovyov. It unexpectedly revealed Russia's technological and economic backwardness compared to the world's leading powers. An invited expert, speaking about the situation in the Russian energy sector, reported that, according to the plans of the Russian Ministry of Energy, the country should annually increase production by 2 gigawatts of its total capacity. Solovyov inquired about the United States' performance in this area and received a rather unpleasant answer. It turns out that the Americans are expanding their energy production by 67 gigawatts annually, while the Chinese are expanding by a whopping 450. A sad Solovyov was forced to admit that, in comparison, Russia's 2 gigawatts are nothing. So Russia is 2, America is 67, China is 450. That's nothing. That's called a rejection of any growth, the Kremlin propagandist stated. Central question in Russia's war against Ukraine. Will the Russian leader be satisfied with subjugating Ukraine, or will he seek to extend Russian influence and control further into Europe, as many European leaders fear? 3 historical impulses provide insight into Putin's ultimate goals. The impulse to expand control, to enhance security, to return to the Russia state lands that were lost for various reasons, and to reunite the 3 branches of the greater Russian nation. Putin has used elements of all 3 narratives in his rhetoric since before he launched the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Each of those narratives have different implications for the dimensions of the threat Russia poses to Europe. Yet it is impossible to know which one prevails in Putin's strategic calculations, nor how his successors will choose among them, although the narratives will certainly influence their foreign policy thinking. Prudence dictates that Europe should prepare for the worst, while hoping to steer Russia toward a less perilous course, even to the point of reducing the salience of those 3 expansionist narratives for Russian security.
A tank belonging to the Russian army has been struck during a mechanized assault in Konstantinivka direction in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region. The strike has been captured by a camera mounted on the tank. The video footage of the operation has been shared in social media. The first vehicle in the column, an armored vehicle supplied with anti-drone equipment, was hit, likely by an anti-tank guided missile, and was disabled. The tank tried to drive around it, but what happened next remains unknown. 2 direct hits were made on an infantry fighting vehicle carrying troops. Yet another video shared in social media shows Ukrainian troops repelling a Russian attack in another part of the front line. The invaders' assault ended before it even began. An armored vehicle belonging to Russian troops was struck by Ukrainian forces. The infantry barely had time to rush forward when the armored vehicle was already hit. 10 seconds later, there was another strike. It's worth noting that Ukraine has scaled up attacks on Russian strategic military facilities in occupied parts of Ukraine and deep in Russia. These attacks include drone strikes and precision attacks on Russian military positions as well as airfields, ammunition depots, energy facilities, radar stations, and logistics hubs deep inside Russian territory. The strikes are aimed at disrupting Moscow's war efforts. The intensified fightings on the front line come amid failure to reach a peace deal.